good evening to the us tribe, to the soldiers out there. We back in the building. This is your girl, Dre.
And Renee, how is everybody?
What's up, everyone? So we're gonna take a brief pause right quick while we collect our thoughts and notes together.
Hey family, it's Renee. Are you guys looking to learn firearm safety or do you want to just get in shape with you and 9 of your friends? If so, make sure you get it from BodyBioTactical.com. Let him and his team get you into fighting shape. Not only is it affordable, he comes to you. Again, that is BodyBioTactical.com.
All right. So, Nay, we back in the building another
Yeah, we
week.
are.
We were just cracking up talking about how folks are nuts. And it's been an interesting, emotionally charged week, because everyone had watched when they see us, and we're gonna talk a little bit about that today. We're gonna talk about a lot of emotionally charged reality stuff. So, Nay, you want to kick it off today?
All right, sidebar everybody, episode 14.
Whoa, 14 in the building. What?
All right. So, let's kick it off, man. I have a question I want to ask you.
Okay.
Are negative police or vigilante encounters a rite of passage for black youth?
Well, let's break that down. So, I would say it's a rite of passage for Black youth. We all can have a story about negative policing, right? And I can
Hmm.
tell you all the story. I can tell you a few stories. Being from Boston, very racially charged city, and very segregated city. Let's talk about that. The police force is predominantly Irish. So growing up in the 80s, that's all that you see was police harassing young black men, and I could say young black women too, but more so young black men. And in the 80s, specifically when I was, 6 years old, my brothers was growing up in a time in which they was getting harassed. I remember both my brothers had actually went to the holding because they was in a part of Massachusetts in which, quote unquote, black folks shouldn't be there. And that was like the rites of passage. Mind you, my brothers don't have any records or anything of that nature. And, so you was pretty much like clutching your pearls. And I can imagine, the talks that we received as children at that age from my parents, coming from the South, then migrating to the North, have to deal with police. And then what they have to deal with down here, slave patrol, right? And a lot of
Right.
times we don't think about, that's a rites of passage, but honestly, it's a negative rites of passage that we shouldn't have to go through because of the color of our skin.
That's very true. I want to share an experience that I had when I was younger. I want to say I was about 7. I wasn't 8. I was 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. And it was me and the kids across the street. We were racing down the street because you're little. That's what you do. And a police car just came out of nowhere and just like blocked us off when we were running. And like, mind you, we're 6 and 7 years old, and he made us all sit down on the ground and ask us our names and all that stuff. And because he said that there's been break-ins, mind you, we damn near still toddlers,
Mhm.
and that just really kind of shook me up. That sticks with me. And
Yeah.
then after he checked our names, quote unquote, and saw we didn't have anything. I remember one of the kids that I was racing with. He asked him if he had a sticker. And he was like, "I ain't got shit for your black ass." And then he like got in a
Mm.
squad car and he just drove off.
Oh my God. That is crazy. That is crazy. And that's in, like you said, you're pretty much getting out of diapers at that point. You probably kindergarten, right? And
Yeah.
you're dealing with that negative experience of policing. And then I don't know if you remember, I don't know if this was in your school. I remember in elementary school we had officer friendly. Did you guys have that?
No, we didn't.
So we had this like police program, in my elementary school. It was officer friendly, and then he had like his canine dog. Listen to this, y'all. Coming to our elementary school, so he's telling us, if you come in contact with strangers, what do you do? Oh, we contact officer friendly, sir. What? So think about it like now at my age versus the 80s. I'm like, what was it really programming our minds about police is good? They're amazing. We're going to call them and they're going to be, on our side. Let's fast forward like 30 years later. No,
Right.
no, they'll be the main ones that's going to shoot us down on the streets. And that's when a turbulent time in Boston. So let me tell you guys a quick story. If you guys grew up in Boston, know anything about Boston. So in 1989, it was this case called the Charles Stewart case. So Charles Stewart was this white guy from like the suburbs. I think he was from probably like Malden or somewhere. He came into Mission Hill. If anybody know about Mission Hill, it's one of the neighborhoods in Boston. It's in Roxbury. Predominantly black folks live in Roxbury as well. So he killed his wife in Mission Hill
Mm.
Projects and said that it was this what, guys? A big black 6 foot plus guy came, he robbed us and killed his wife. Now, mind you, his wife was pregnant. And
Oh
he shot,
God.
and mind you, he got quote unquote shot in the abdomen. So it was a pretty much, they ripped apart Mission Hill Projects to the point they went to door and was just snatching up every black man that what fit the description of this big black guy and picking innocent guys. So they had got this guy, Willie Bennett. I will never forget this whole situation, and pretty much had him in holding. So you're pretty much guilty at this point. When you're black, you're guilty automatically, and pretty much took away this man's innocence. Come to find out, Charles Stewart called his brother and said, "Hey, I killed, his wife and the unborn child, and I shot myself." When the brother, told the Boston police, guess what old boy did? He killed himself.
Of course he did.
He killed himself. And the reason why I bring this up, because that was 30 years ago. And, everyone watch When They See Us. And I have to make that correlation because When They See Us, the Central Park 5 situation, that wasn't just happening in New York. It was happening all over, United States. And, that was what's happening. That was what's going on in Boston. And, like, my parents was petrified from, like, my brothers and my cousins and my uncles growing up because they were snatching up every black man. So, we have all these cowardice acts that still goes on 30 years later. And that still is bringing ruins to black communities. And mind y'all, let me tell y'all what they did to this community. So Mission Hill, a lot of great, like, dope ball players come out of there. I have a lot of friends that's from there, like, pretty much tore down those projects and gentrified that area. So they won't have what you call it, remnants of that
Yeah.
whole racist, heavy policing area. And mind y'all, they built a new headquarters right across the street from where those projects. Well, some of the projects still up and still standing. I just have to put that story out there.
That. Ugh. All right. Whew.
I know we have to take a breath on that because this is some real stuff we are still dealing with 30 years later. And, like we were saying earlier before we got on the call, like, where do some of y'all live at? Because everyone's like clutching their pearls, like, oh my God, I didn't know that was going on in the 80s, or I can't believe that's still going on now. Like, what do you expect?
Um. In regards to this, I really want to piggyback on what you were saying about how your parents were afraid for your brothers and everything, because a lot of parents, they use those martyred black youth as a warning symbol to their children, like Emmett Till or Trayvon Martin or Freddie Gray, or the list goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a bit conflicted about that because, of course, it wasn't any of those young men's fault or young women's fault that they were slain by race soldiers. But I mean, I don't think that they should be a cautionary tale every time, your 14 or 15-year-old leaves out with their friends.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Because then too, What is that saying to your child? You cannot have a normal teenagehood. You know what I'm saying? And every time, like when something happens, we always go back to, like you said, Emmett Till. We go back to, Freddie Gray. We go back to all these stories, and it's like a lot of people want to immortalize these stories too, right?
Right.
And a lot of times it's just pretty much a pathology to what's going on. And like I was like, going at it with someone on social media, it's like we need a lot of like healing. And also too, we need a lot of programs for black youth, especially for
Yeah.
black boys. And a lot of times we don't have those programs, and because the program is set up like this, okay, you can't read at second grade, we already building a prison cell for you. And if you can't see that, what's going on, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know, like I can't recommend so many books because you're gonna stay ignorant to it. So yeah, it's interesting.
Right. And I wanna jump us to the next part of this conversation about the sexualization of black youth. Excuse me, black male youth in particular, because of that's what drove the Central Park Five into being arrested.
Mhm.
And I just want to start off by saying that black males are seen as sexual beings from the moment that they come out of their mothers.
Mhm.
And see, that's a mind game. That's something that's embedded into the white supremacist mind, because he knows that um, black semen can literally take white people off the planet, like we're seeing right now.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing taught us, was white genetic annihilation, and they're trying to
Mhm.
fight that.
Mhm.
So why is it that black males are seen as being more sexual from the time you find out that you're having a son?
Exactly. And a lot of times, people are very parents are very traumatic and already grieving the fact that they're having a black son. That's so
Hmm.
sad to me, right? You're just not overzealous or you're overjoyed, like, oh my god, I'm having like a healthy, boy. It's more like, oh, we got, it's like pretty much like, oh, we got to start planning his memorial because we're having a black boy, anything can happen. And like you
Right.
said, we're not also given a chance. Let's be honest, black boys are not given a chance to be boys. They're
That's true.
already grown men. Like you said, once they pronounce, "Oh, congratulations, you're having a boy," they're already sexualized. They're already, planning how they're gonna buck break this boy. They're already
Hmm.
planning on, how they're going to demoralize him and sexualize him. So that's
Yep.
why people are like, "Oh, okay, you 2 years old, you get kicked out of pre-K." I mean, what, not pre-K, but pretty much
Daycare.
daycare. Oh, because he touched his penis. Okay, maybe he got to go to the bathroom and he's trying to signal like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? So he won't be,
Yeah.
he's party training, and that's, oh, he was being sexualized, or he was, grabbing his genitals and not understanding like, okay, maybe he's telling you he gotta go to the bathroom, whatever the case is. So it's already being programmed that this child is going to be a quote unquote, predator, and not
Hmm.
given a chance to be a normal boy.
Right. And because in dominant society, as much white women have a lot of say, okay, when it comes to certain areas. But let's focus on what the white supremacist male says to the white supremacist female. He's going to encourage her not to date interracially, because and he tells her a lot of horror stories about black males, like in the right after Reconstruction, when black people were just learning how to live in society. White males would tell white women that you could get diseases from even like being in the same room as a black person, or if you slept with a black person, you would get something called the blue gum nigger disease. And they said that was you would turn into a nigger basically. And they just spread a lot of propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of white women, especially back then, and even today still, they're taught to trust white men to guide them in certain arenas. So with that propaganda in her head, and like you said, a 2-year-old boy in daycare, grabbing his private part, trying to signal that he needs to use the bathroom, she thinks that he's going to rape me at 2 years old.
Exactly. At 2 years old. And then we can also flip it this way too. Okay, you got a 2-year-old who's grabbing his private parts, not knowing like, okay, let me ask some questions. Oh, well, like you said, he's gonna rape me. Or he could have been molested.
Hmm.
And we don't ask the appropriate questions on what's going on. It's all about the white woman and her focus and where her mind's at. This child could have been molested, in his
Yeah.
household, whatever the case is, but you're so selfish thinking, oh, he's going to terrorize me, he's going to rape me, he's going to do all this stuff. And like you said, you're the adult. This is a 2-year-old child just out the womb 2 years ago, and you're
Right.
thinking these thoughts. So what's that saying about you? You're the one that's the predator. If you're already thinking that child, you're already putting that hypersexual, thoughts about this child.
Exactly, because that means you're looking at him in a sexual light.
Right, right. So you're the pedophile, at the end of the day. And so, it's just very sickening that, black men are, they're not given a chance to be a child, to be a youth. You're looked at as, a buck. You looked at as an animal, as they said in the Central Park Five, and when they see us, you looked at as an animal. You wilding, you a super predator. So you have all these negative labels on you. So you're not really given a chance to fully be a human. You're already dehumanized from day one.
Right. And it's like I've shared a couple episodes ago that majority of my school life I was around black youth, and then for my last 2 years I was around mostly white people, and white boys are more rowdy than black boys when it comes to being at certain ages, like especially like when you're a teenager.
Mhm.
And like a lot of the stuff that I saw white boys doing, they should have been in jail for.
Right. And let's talk about that really quick, right? Remember the case, the Duke lacrosse players?
Yeah.
And remember, I don't even think they even spent any time in a holding cell or in prison. And it was a black woman. What was she? They said she was a stripper or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
She came to this party, got violated. And you hear that every day, all day at these frat parties, at like University of Alabama, Auburn, whatever the case is. They don't get no, oh, they're being boys. We hear that for white boys. They're being boys, let the boys be boys. But if it was the other way around, as we seen with Central Park, just because they was in the facility, all of a sudden they're grown men and then they skeeted off in this sock. And yeah, that's your semen and this, that, and the other. So you see the contrast. And white boys, I'm like, I remember I got invited to this white frat party. I said, don't you ever in your life invite me. Because I know what goes down there. And like you said, Nay,
What
that
happens there? I have never partied with white people
I never
like on a.
partied with white people, but where my housing was at, it was right behind like white fraternity row when I was in
Oh,
grad
okay.
school. Oh my
Okay.
god, oh my god, I could like peep over there. Now I'm not going to party with y'all. Oh no, I was peeping over there like, really? That's what y'all be doing? I mean, like drinking, all type of drugs. Just accessibility to what we always talk about.
Mhm.
Anything, sex, drugs. Then they want to listen to hip hop. I remember one time they had hired some hip hop artists, and I'm like, really on a Thursday night? So they videotaping it. So okay, let's take it another step. The Kavanaugh situation.
Okay.
Remember when he was on trial? They were trying to figure out if he should get confirmed to be a Supreme Court.
Yeah.
That was going on. Underage drinking, also too stuff we're not privy to as Black folk. um
Right.
Underage drinking, drugs. Oh, he raped me. But a lot of times it's consensual sex until their parents find out, and a lot of times the parents are condoning it because they're like, yes, because we need to get that wealth, because we forget that white wealth is held in households, because they
That's
could do
true.
all this nasty stuff to each other. They're gonna pair them up. Okay, you know what, Becky, you're gonna marry Brock. I understand he violated you, but he has wealth, you have wealth. So I don't care if you don't like each other. Y'all gotta marry to keep the wealth flowing, to keep the old slave money
Exactly.
flowing. So, that's a lot of stuff that we're not privy to, but that's what they do at these white frat parties, and these white sorority chicks go. They get lit, whatever the case is, and everything and anything goes. Let's put it that way. And I don't understand, when you're black, why would you want to even segregate yourself to that? I wouldn't.
Oh man, you just said a whole lot right there, and I'm just like really trying to soak it in. I feel like, we're so starved for acceptance that we put ourselves in these situations, and we're gonna sit up there and we're gonna be mistreated. And even if a quote unquote one unicorn of a white person comes along and they want to help you, at the end of the day they're only going to do so much, because see what they're doing is they're trying to build up cred, because they're the Bernie Sanders of the future. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm. Right. Or they're the Uncle Joe
Yeah.
that lied and said, "Hey, I marched with King," and you a damn lie. You did not march with nobody because you want, like you said, you're setting your political aspirations up, your Supreme Court aspirations up, or whatever the case is, aspirations up. So
Mhm.
you can say, "Hey, I helped black people 50 years ago," but guess what? Folks got receipts. You ain't help nobody.
Let's talk about quote unquote Uncle Joe for a while. When it
Yes.
comes when it came to that 94 crime bill, let's keep in mind that he pretty much pinned that himself. In fact, it was called Biden's law
Mhm.
for about 20 years. Only in the past 5 or 6 years has it started being referred to as the 94 crime bill.
Right. And
So
I'm glad you mentioned that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so that is his mindset. That is what he thinks of black people. And if you really look back into the stuff that him and Obama, they like to put it out there like they had this magical friendship and they ran off into the sunset holding hands and drinking pina colada. No, it was far from that. He referred to Barack Obama as being one of the cleanest individuals. And white folks sit around and talk about how dirty black people are.
Mhm.
So what it was, so really y'all sitting up here, but he Uncle Joe. No.
And let me tell y'all about y'all Uncle Joe and y'all Uncle Bill. Okay, they were in cahoots together. So Uncle Joe and Uncle Bill, Bill Clinton, y'all man, he the quote unquote the first black president because he done played the saxophone. He done got some hidden biracial children in Arkansas. Y'all can do the Googles on that.
Yep.
And so he pretty much so supported the 1994 Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Bill. So let's talk about that bill real quick. So this bill supported more policing. So we're talking about 100,000 for more police to be out there. Spent 9.7 billion in prison funding. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit later. 6.1 billion prevention program. And guess who's heading this program? Is ex police officers, retired police officers who's heading this program.
Mhm.
Also, too, let's skip 2 years later. Y'all auntie Hillary gonna call black folks super predators. They're gonna call black men super predators, right?
Right.
But yet, was it, oh, we gotta vote for auntie. You had your man, the quote unquote newly billionaire, Jay-Z, his wife, Bay. They out here doing concerts, supporting her. We gotta put her in there. She says she done apologize for calling y'all niggas super predators. And everyone, we gonna vote for Auntie. We gotta get her in there. But that shit backfired on her. You know what I'm saying? So this is the thing that killed me. Like as Nate said, we have these quote unquote unicorn white folks. Oh, we gonna help y'all, but see the receipts are out there. You're not gonna be calling me no super predator and think I'm gonna go vote for you, or even rock with you, or even look in your direction. And your husband was in favor of, yes, we're gonna vote this bill in, the violent crime, and that wasn't towards us. Anytime you hear violent crime, war on drugs, see these are buzzwords that's referring to black folks. It ain't referring to them. It's referring to our neighborhood and our community. So I just had to put that
Exactly.
out there.
Right. Like if you have to really look into this, because see the thing is right now, because reparations is such a hot topic, um, a lot of them are coming around throwing their buzzwords out, but they're not saying anything. They're gonna say reparations for, Native American, Asian community, and natives and black people.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, what's gonna happen? Because first off, they're not gonna give us any reparations. Let's just dead that idea right there. Unless they sitting up here cutting a check right now with every black person whose family can be traced back to the census of what, 1880, I want to say.
Yeah. Mhm.
So unless they can do that, they're not gonna give it to you. But anyway, when it comes to reparations, see, a lot of them are sitting up here just gonna do buzzwords because they're doing buzzwords and hashtag sloganism.
Right. Right.
So they're not going to give you anything tangible. You need something tangible in your hands. You know, Look at the gay community right now. The gay community is getting a lot of stuff done for them right now, and that's because they put something in the politicians' hands, which was
Exactly.
money.
Mhm.
Because, see, voting has nothing to do with policy making, it's nothing but how much you pay for it.
Exactly. And that's why you see a lot of folks that's in the Senate, that's in the House of Representatives, they have what? Lobbyists. Lobbyists
Mm-hmm.
are like giving them hella money. Why do you think they become millionaires once they leave that seat? Because they're getting their hands palm like, okay, all right, they get in the bag by any means. So it's going back to, I think I said this last episode. So you're on the menu, but you over here crying, talking about you want to sit at the table, not knowing they already, don't have you the appetizer. Your
Mm-hmm.
community is a whole entree, and they just looking at, okay, being a capitalist. All it is about being a super capitalist at the end of the day.
Exactly. Exactly. But, this show isn't focused on politics right now. Let's keep it moving.
Yep. So we're gonna keep it moving on that.
Let's talk about the powerless black officers.
Right, because I know I was going off.
Like, give me your thoughts on that.
So let's talk about powerless black officers, and I'm gonna say this. I have a really good friend that one of my classmates, one of my teammates from high school. She's a police officer. I don't know. I had to pause on that because I'm like, why? Like I always ask her, like, why would you want to go into this field? She would have been a dope lawyer, in my opinion, but she ended up being a police officer. She's like second generation. Her mom's a police officer.
Right.
And I don't see, like, when I have conversations with her, it's like nothing there. Like when I'm talking about, being black in America, growing up in Boston, this, that, and the other, it's like this whole deprogramming, right?
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
not like a soulful connection anymore. Like back when we was, let's say, high school or even in our early 20s. It's more like, well, I gotta serve and protect. I gotta get these niggas off the street and get them in line. And you're like, whoa. Like, I'm like, what? What?
Are you
Like,
serious?
yeah. And like, so I have to really put myself in reverse. When I'm talking about putting myself in reverse, it's like I have to really not have conversations because that's such toxicity. From a person who I know, love, care about so much to a person that I don't even know anymore in our 30s, right? To hear that blatant
Right.
comment, like we gotta get the niggas in line, but I'm like, yo, did you forget where we are from? Like the stuff we went through. And mind you, we played on police leagues, they have police athletic leagues and stuff like that. And I remember we're like, nah, and stuff we went through as, teenagers and being in South Boston and having them white people run us from South Boston, the police is going with it. And I'm like, you still want to be down with that? So there's not a connection I have with her because I think she feels ashamed, but also too, she still got to stick with the boys and the girls in blue. So you see that,
Right.
you see a lot of siding with these are my brothers and my sisters in the blue. We got to keep y'all niggas over here in line by any means necessary.
Right. Now let's talk about that for a second, because you said a lot of things that like jumped out in my mind. Well, black officers in general are supposed to feel grateful that they're even in that position to be a police officer. Okay, so they're supposed that the white officers throwing at them. And if you really look at the history of black police officers, you'll learn that in New York in the early 1900s, when they first started letting black people become police officers, they didn't give them a gun, they didn't give them
Mm-hmm.
a billy club, or well, excuse me, this is documented what they call them, the nigger knocker, and
Right.
they weren't allowed to they were allowed to arrest white people.
Mm-hmm.
So So you got a whole bunch of black police officers being extra hard on the black community because that was the only power that they could feel.
Right. Right.
And
Exactly.
most of them don't want to rock the boat, and I'm doing my air quotes. But there was a few that did, especially in recent history. Let's look at Chris Dorner.
Mm-hmm.
Are you Well, for everybody who's not familiar with Chris Dorner, he was an officer in Los Angeles who felt that the department was very racist, and so what he did was he went on a murdering spree, and he murdered a lot of white people, and then they shot him. But he wrote a manifesto that is still available to read online. So if you guys Google Chris Dorner's manifesto, he goes into extreme graphic detail about how it came to that. That's a total compensatory action by definition. Is what Neely Fuller teaches us.
Right.
And then of an officer who, just goes along to get along. I want to talk about this happened a couple months ago. Back in April, down in Georgia, there was an officer who was fired for dating a white woman.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
He was praised a hero because, see, he did a big huge drug bust, so he probably kicked in the door and roughed up a bunch of black people, and so he was praised a hero. And he didn't, and he when they came out publicly with that relationship that they were dating, they started making a paper trail of him not checking in at the start and at the end of his shift, and that's how they fired him for not following protocol that nobody follows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he wants to do that and cry racism while he had no problem working in a racist department where he himself says that they have Nazi flags hanging up in.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, like, to me, I don't understand how anyone that's anyone black American would want to be a police. That has to be one of the most difficult jobs because that's your fellow brother or sister in blue is doing all type of ratchetness, all type of illegal activities towards your community that you grew up in, right? But
Yeah,
you just standing there like, okay, go ahead and pull the trigger, and then you want to get extra hard because you gotta prove, that you down with them. So you already done made your decision who you rocking with, and they could pull the
exactly.
trigger on your granny, on your sister, your brother, and you gotta rock with them. So that has to be a very difficult occupation to be in. I never wanted to put myself in that situation. I had worked alongside law enforcement just by being, in the social service field. But that's something I never considered because I'm like, yo, you have to compromise so much stuff and sacrifice a lot of stuff. And how can you go back into your own community if you live in that community, right? To show
Right.
your face and still say, oh, I'm protecting y'all. I'm going to advocate for y'all. But at the end of the day, you got to do that extra kick or you got to be the last one to pull the trigger on your cousin. Um, you know, on an innocent situation. So
Right. And another thing I wanted to talk about in regards to police is, like, I saw this article, I want to say earlier this week or last week or something, talking about calling for more black people to join the police force and
mhm.
change it from within. And I'm like, that point is nil.
Right.
That literally makes like zero sense, because even if, first off, if a bunch of black people start going to the police academy, they're going to start shutting shit down.
Of course.
First and foremost, it takes a special kind of spirit as a black person to be a police officer, and a good one at that. But what's gonna happen is they're just gonna like start really messing with the requirements, and then you're never gonna have enough requirements, or you're gonna have too many requirements, or credits towards being a police officer. So why is that? Because see, white people are masters of moving the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a bunch of black police officers and you're, rallying for racism and getting change within the department, you're really just gonna you have a better chance of sitting with a blind person and describing the color yellow.
Yep.
Like seriously, that it makes no sense. But anyway.
And I mean, like, they have a mass, even with just being a correction officer, there's such a shortage on that. And as a matter of fact, my brother-in-law, he's like on month number 3, and he still haven't got chose. They got to do all these testing. When he was telling us the testing, I'm like, what? And I'm looking at him like, why would you want to go into this field? Like, he's telling us,
Wow.
like my husband had to hit, like, they have to, like, know who your mama is. They need to know this, that, and the third. And mind you, his future father-in-law is like, I think 20 years in as a correction officer. It doesn't even matter because he's black, and they want to know all your business. Nothing is sacred. They do all type of psychological testing, and I'm like, okay. I had asked him, I'm like, is it just you, or are they doing this to other folks? And he's like, well, I don't know. I said, you need to find out, because this is ridiculous that you in month 3 and you still haven't got an answer yet. And he's a good dude, like real good dude, real smart. But I'm like, I don't understand why you would want to even sacrifice your life going into law enforcement. But like you said, it takes a special type of spirit that Dre don't have. And I won't have, because I cannot see myself, compromising my life or my family's life, going into that field. No.
And for corrections officers, you hear a story every other week that they raping or running a fight club. So you didn't think it would be that much of a hassle to get in.
It is a big hassle, and I'm like, like you said, they raping, they impregnating. It's all type of, like, dark. It's going back to that whole dark, world that we're not exposed to. That whole underground world that they do, and like you say, y'all just picking anybody off the street, and you giving this person a hard time. So that's a whole nother show. But yeah. Oh, this is what I want to talk about too, because I
What?
see this a lot, which is very interesting when it comes to the stark difference of law enforcement when it comes to, up north, down south, west coast, whatever the case is. Because people up north, me being a East Coaster, now living in the South, people like, oh, we don't have those problems as, red states, far as with prisons and policing. But look at New York City is very notorious for heavy policing, just killings of black folks. Cause people really have this mentality of like really having this, superior, like, oh, we live in the northeastern states, we don't have those problems. But I'm like, I can pull out like 5 different cases from New York City. Y'all have major problems there. You know what I'm saying? It's not being funny or joking about it, but having conversations with my friends from New York, they're like, we don't have those issues. And I'm like, yo, y'all live in New York, like Central Park 5, Eric Gardner, Sean Bell. Look at, I'm just rattling off names.
Right.
And y'all, people be like, oh, but in the red states, they got the notorious prisons. I had looked at an article this week. They the most funded prisons that they fund more than education are all blue states. People always talking about, oh, I live in this liberal area and we have the best education. If you black, let's tone that down. Y'all education funding is actually being moved to fund um, jails, probation, and we're gonna talk about that too. You're not
Wow.
rehabbing anybody, and I'm talking about the number one state is your state, Cali.
Hmm.
Number two was like New York. Three was like Massachusetts, my state. We had Rhode Island. We had some other crazy states. But these are the states in which people feel like, oh, we're in a superior. We are free to live. We free to live among white folks and Hispanics and Asian folks. But y'all the ones that's pretty much getting shitted on and going to jail the most there.
Yeah, because those good white folks you're living around are calling the cops on you.
Right. And I just have to throw that out there because I had gotten to numerous arguments about that. Because people like, oh, the South they got, yeah, we understand they have notorious prisons. Angola. I can name a whole bunch of prisons down here. I was like, but at the same time, don't just shut the light down here. This is a United States problem. Like mass incarceration is not just like a regional issue. Like this is a United States issue to the point that more black men are incarcerated than any other people on the face of this earth.
Yep. Let's talk about that though. Let's talk about that whole the non-rehabilitation that goes on in jail.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in jail because, as we've seen, I have to go back to when they see us. Look at how they was doing all the gentlemen, especially Corey Rise, right? And remember
Yeah.
when they said when he got beat up, he was getting abused, all this. Don't say you need to go into infirmary. You need to go into solitary. So you're creating more of mental health, right?
Yep.
Because when you go into solitary, what's gonna happen? You're heightened. You got depression. You got anxiety. You got schizophrenia. You got bipolar. All these things happen because you're isolated. And then you're dealing with abuse. You're dealing with trying to heal. He got stabbed up a few times. You're gonna have PTSD. You're gonna start, quote unquote, I don't like saying this word, start losing your mind and going crazy. So you didn't see nowhere when they transitioned out of, prison, any type of youth facility, any type of rehabilitation. It was just like, bye. We're gonna see y'all in 3 years because we got a recidivism problem too.
Yep. And another thing I want to talk about when it comes to the Central Park Five was that Corey wasn't even supposed to be there.
That just broke my heart. He wasn't supposed. He was like a true loyal friend, and I remember I was talking about this earlier this week too. He was a true loyal friend. Like, oh, if I don't go, remember he said if I don't go down there, his mom's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
And he just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, remember dude said you gonna come along, buddy. And dude's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna come because I gotta hold it down. I gotta be loyal to my homeboy. And he got hit with the most time, and he got done in the most.
But another thing is I want to say he was in special education.
Okay, and let's talk about that. Not only that, he was in special education, as Nate said, he also had like a disability because he's hard of hearing. And during the trial, he told the lady that, "Oh, what are you talking about? I didn't write this, and I can't read well." So then here we go, victimizing. Here we go, demoralizing. Right? Oh, what do you mean? You
Hmm.
can't read well. Oh, what do you mean? You don't know what this means. So he's already on trial. He's an innocent bystander. Then you demoralizing him and his character because he has to admit he can't hear well, he can't read well. And then remember they start talking about his being tardy. Well, why was you truant?
Yeah.
And he's like, what this got to do with my trial? So that's going back to what we were talking about earlier. Black boys or black people, period, but in this instance, we're talking about black boys are not given a chance to be youth, are not given a chance to make a mistake, right? And not knowing, okay, what's going on at home. And I think his
Yeah.
mom, was like a drug dealer or something like that, because I remember she was singing, she was
Yeah.
telling. So, but that has nothing to do with it neither. But it's like, okay, where are the programs to help, not repair this, but like really to prevent more of this going on, more trauma?
Oof. Like that whole thing was just terrible. Um, Like you said, he was hard of hearing. He had issues with reading. So if he had as many problems with reading as he said, he had a hard time comprehending things. So why would they would type this big thing out and not tell him a word of what it says and just expect him
Mhm.
to just go along with it, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
that whole this whole trial was a big example of I'm white and I say so.
Right. Exactly. Oh, and let's go back to that. Not only I'm white and I said so, I'm a white woman and y'all better do what I tell you to do because I have your career dangling in front of your face, right? Because that white
Yeah.
woman, going back to white feminism, I am, like, the damsel in distress. I gotta
Mhm.
make sure that I gotta get all these black, super predator boys off the street because this damsel in distress white woman got raped. And guess what? I gotta make sure, I come out looking good because I got book deals and all these deals waiting for me. And so y'all have to do what I say. So that's pretty much what it was. And these people knew she was wrong. They knew she was wrong. So here we go, weaponizing white tears, weaponizing careers, and just tarnish a whole, you know, just tarnish a lot of people's reputation, their lives, and their family lives.
Exactly. And see, that was an example of white people sticking together. That's an example of them getting on code against black people.
Right.
And the thing with that is a lot of black people, we understand the point of when white people are starting to get to gang up on us. We understand that, but a lot of us don't know how to respond to it.
No, we don't. And I think we talked about this like, episodes a while ago. Is we don't understand, like you said, when they get on cold, basic, and not being emotional. When you're dealing with white
Yeah.
folks, you have to be very strategic and logical when you talk to them, right? And you have to
Right.
understand what's going on. You have to be very, critical thinking. This is critical thinking 101. You have to be like on point with critical thinking. You can't be in your feelings. Oh my God, what did you say? You have to be 10 steps ahead of them because they're already gonna have the meeting before the meeting.
Right. They see, the thing is, it's hard for a lot of black people to actually sit and listen to white people talk. Like, you find yourself tuning out because they're telling you about their cat and then their grandma and the summer they had when they were 5. You can tone out and just nod your head and do the damn, and that's crazy. And when they see that you're zoned out from listening to them talk, what they do is that's when they sprinkle in a lot of bullshit.
Mhm. Right. Exactly. So that's why you have to sometimes you have to know how to be an active listener.
Hmm.
And people are not taught that. Because when you listen and shut your mouth, oh, you find out a lot. And you also find out a lot through nonverbal cues too. But we just get so,
Exactly.
oh my God, we blank out, right? We blank out because, Brock done told us this stuff. But he's like giving us signals on what's popping, what's gonna pop off. But we just get so in our feelings and we get antsy, we get, hyper attention. You just have to focus on what they're doing, the body language, what they're saying, because they're telling you what they're gonna do or what they're gonna say without even
Exactly.
verbalizing it.
Exactly. That's just the games that they play, because see, they know that once they start talking, and once that you start that that's when they're going to start telling you craziness, you know and
Hmm.
that's just the games they play, because like we always harp, they're very good at deceptive language.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. So you have to be very, detail oriented yourself. So that's something that That's one of y'all homeworks. Like learn how to like really be detail oriented in your thinking and also in your listening, because people tell us who they are, people tell us what they're going to do. It's so many little words, but you have to be the ones to pick up on that.
That's very true. Uh,
Yeah. All right. So what we have,
I think we hit all our points tonight.
man, y'all. So we pretty much hit all our points. So make sure that you check out, when they see us, check out the actual documentary, Central Park 5 by Ken Burns. It's on pretty much, I think, Netflix. It's on YouTube. Do your Googles. Do your Googles and know your rights. Oh, let's talk about this one point since I said know your rights.
What's up?
Advocate for your children.
Ooh, yes. Ooh, I can't believe we didn't talk about that.
Advocacy, 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 advocacy. We're social scientists. That's part of one of our jobs we have to do is being advocates. You need to first be your own advocate. Self advocacy, number one. But if you do not advocate for self and you don't advocate for your children, I have a problem with you. And you need to come holler at me, because the advocacy wasn't there, but one parent advocated, right? It was the mom.
It was Yusuf's mom, but let's talk about that for a second because they were heavily involved in the Nation of Islam, and they prepare you for that.
Yes.
You're prepared in how to deal, how to talk to police officers, and your what Muslim girls training, and then what do they call the boys training?
Oh, I forgot what they call it.
I forgot. I'm sorry, guys. My mind blanked on that. But they teach them how to talk to the police officers, and that's a very good thing. And I think that a lot of black people in general need to learn how to talk to the police. Like we said before when we were talking about survival, you don't say anything to the police besides your name, rank, and serial number.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's
And if
why
you're
I would go
underage,
ahead.
call. If you're underage, call for your mother, call for your father, call for a lawyer. Those are the only three things you need to say. Your name, your mama, get my mother, and get me a lawyer.
Yep. Exactly. The training is called manhood training.
Yeah.
Right. Um, so that's important. Going back to what Nate said, you need to teach your child how to advocate for self, how to know when to be quiet, right? Know when to be quiet. Where's my parents at? I'm a minor. Because a lot of times we get caught up. We get caught up. Well, I can say what I want to say, but see, we speak up at the wrong time too, instead of
That's
speaking
true.
up at the right time. So you gotta rock the boat by any means necessary and speak up whenever you feel your rights or responsibilities being violated. You have to know how to advocate. Um, I know growing up, Lord have mercy, I was some people was raised by my mama. My mother did not play when it came to like my brothers and I, because like they knew my mom at my schools, at all my siblings schools. They knew my mother, and my mother to this day, I'm a grown woman with a whole husband, will advocate for me if I can't do it for myself. So it's okay to use your voice, because there was a point in time in which we couldn't. And I see why my
Exactly.
mom is very big on that, because my mom grew up in the Jim Crow era in Alabama. So it was a time in which she couldn't use her voice. But when she went to Boston, she's like, wait, I'm not about to have that. So that's why I'm very big on advocacy and fighting for yourself, also fighting for your child, because people will take advantage of you when you just being passive and docile. And it's okay, like I said, to rock the boat. It's okay to teach your children, hey, you need to advocate for yourself. That comes to medical, that comes to the police, that comes to anything, because you have to know how to speak up and speak up at that point in time. Don't just go home and write a think piece and think someone's going to like, oh my God, that's what happened. Write that think piece later. Write an advocacy piece later. But at that point in time, you need to be advocating for yourself.
Exactly. You know, use your voice,
Right.
And like this whole Central Park case was steeped in racism.
Yes.
Like I remember they were playing the like the news reports from back then talking about how these boys were coming from the land of fatherlessness when majority of them knew their fathers or had some
Uh-huh.
sort of relationship with them. They assigned these boys as fatherless, and they said they were coming from what is it, perpetual poverty. I think that's what they said.
Yep.
And it's just like this is what they think of you, and because this racism, it has nothing to do with how they look. Okay, the racism that was used in this case it was assigned to them by how they think that they look.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you can't just sit up here and just let that be whatever. You have to really sit up here and advocate for yourself. And when you hear them, because I had situations with teachers, they would talk down to us like, oh, we know you guys can't afford computers and this, that, and the other, when people who I knew personally had 2 and 3 computers in the house.
Exactly.
So just always advocate for yourself. And if you hear somebody in dominant society saying something that's like completely false and erroneous and misinformed, correct them.
Yes. Please
Don't
correct
go home. Don't
them.
sit on it. Do not sit on
No.
that. Like, don't just go home and complain to another black person, because it's nothing that they can do.
Exactly. There's nothing they can do, and also too, don't now. If you're gonna go on social media, you better at them. You better, you better like, cause I know a lot of stuff. Sometimes I go on Twitter and I at them and be like, "Oh, there was a racist situation," and I mean, cause I write down stuff anyways. I at that company or that brand. I'm like, cause I'm about to expose all y'all. On top of
Wow.
me, oh yeah, I have, cause with that whole the Sephora case with what's homegirl Scissor, my
Uh,
mom and I had dealt with that. I had got 2 people fired. You're not gonna play with me, like.
so what happened?
So with my situation,
Yeah.
oh, so I know we all topic. It's the same thing. So my mom and I, we went into Sephora. My mom, is darker skin, and she wanted someone to help her pick a foundation. Who's in the store? Becky and her squad. They look at me and my mother crazy. And we was like, well, there's not a black woman that can help, my mom, whatever case is. And like I said, my mom she can hold her own. So they got afraid and was like, oh, was acting stupid. Then, was trying to be racist and follow them around the store. So we was like, where's your supervisor? Where's your manager? Oh, why? Just go get them. So they went to go get the supervisor. She was afraid of my mom and I because we're like, listen, why your hiring practices is racist because you don't have no black person on the squad. Well, we had Shaniqua 9 months ago. I don't care who you had here 9 months ago. And it doesn't make a
Wow.
difference. Yeah, it doesn't make a difference because we can help you. And my mom's like, no, because black women can help black women. We know each other's, skin. And I'm a black woman and I want someone black to help me. You guys gonna have me looking crazy out here. Oh, that is not true. You disrespected us. No, you disrespected us by not having anybody black in here to help us. Then your squad was acting afraid. So that was covert racism.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, I don't see a big deal, when we have conversations with other people. That's not a big deal. And I'm like, that is a big deal because that goes to show who's going to help us. If we want to look beautiful, whatever the case is, why you don't have anybody black to help us in here? Then you're going to tell me about Shaniqua. And I think she did say Shaniqua, which is like the most stereotypical black name you can come up with. Talking
And
about,
there probably wasn't even a Shaniqua.
thank
I mean,
you.
let's keep it 100.
Exactly. And I'm like, ain't no damn sneaker work here. So pretty much we went off on, the supervisor told her, I was like, what's your name? We took down her information. So I went on Twitter, yes, as Dre would do in Dre fashion. I went off, gave them the whole store number, what happened, the incident, advocated. I talked to the freaking director, like the regional director of, Alabama and Georgia, Told them,
Wow.
had a meeting and said, these are the people who you need to fire. You need to have a conversation and you need to look at your hiring practices. If you want to hire me, I will be more than willing to help you with, I did tell them, I was like, because I do this for a living with college students. I can come and vet some folks. They was like, oh my God. And so they fired the supervisor and old girl, Becky. Then when I went past there the other day, they hired like two black girls. But you gotta go through this whole shit. You gotta go through all this and be like, you're racist. And people, so imagine if it was somebody else that was meek and mild. Them chicks would have still been there working. I don't care about your livelihood because you don't care about mine.
Right.
And so that's racist practices, and we probably should do an episode on that too. That goes on every single day. And sometimes you have to put your foot on their neck and be like, this is advocacy. I mean business. Because if I'm spending my money and I don't want to hear, oh, well, you didn't spend your money at a black, makeup store. Well, hell, I don't live by a black makeup store.
Right.
So, it's just stuff
Exactly.
like that you have to deal with. And which, it makes it bigger and bigger and bigger because, then you have, I'm thankful we didn't have to go to jail, but it's like you can handle situations in a professional way. And then sometimes you got to make a big stink about it, but staying true to who you are as a person and not just be like, oh, well, we just going to let it go. See, too many of us, we let it go too.
Yeah,
Not letting it go. No, because they're not letting it go when they're putting us in jail or gunning us down the streets.
that's very true.
So yeah, so that was my little story, guys. I didn't mean to like go left, but you get what advocacy is. Sometimes you just have to advocate by any means necessary.
That's right. And I'm glad that situation got handled for you.
Yeah, craziness. So, what is your last words of wisdom? Because we're at the hour mark.
Uh, my last words of wisdom for this week are just, learn social cues and learn how to read body language.
Mm. I like that. My last words, I would definitely say be an advocate by any means necessary. If you know someone who can't advocate for themselves, when I'm talking about if they have a disability, advocate for your people and be unapologetic about it.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
it. That is it. Ooh, we got through another episode. It
Yeah,
was
we
a
did.
tough one. It was very emotional. Just watching when they see us is very emotional. So if you guys haven't watched it, watch it with a reality set of lens. Have discussions with your children about it. That's what I wanted to bring up too. Talk to your children about it because unfortunately we have to have the conversations with our children about being black in America. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it.
And don't act like it doesn't exist to your children because kids are smarter than we give them credit for.
Yes. 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 So make sure that don't dumb them down. They know what's popping off. So yes, as always, thank you all for listening. Don't forget to listen, like, subscribe to the Urban Social Scientists on SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, and Apple. Don't forget to like us on Facebook at the Urban Social Scientists. Don't forget to get at us if you are a black business or a black podcast, so we can feature you all on the podcast. And what else? I think that's it.
Oh, and big shout out to the TDR network. Make sure you guys are checking out all of our network family over there because
Yes.
every show is amazing.
Yes, so make sure you check out our fam because they're really dope. So don't forget about that. So, yes, so much love and light to you all. Thank you for listening to episode 14 in the building and have a great evening.
Peace. Later
Peace.
days.